Hey everyone, and welcome to the season finale of Game Over Tapes Season 2. Today's episode will be really special, as we will go back to the deep waters one last time to discover more cryptic and interesting stuff about the Asphalt franchise, this time with a very special guest. Get your diving gear ready, because we will explore the depths below in the last part of the trilogy of Asphalt videos. This is the Asphalt Iceberg, Part 3. The 3 lost locations. Let me give you some backstory for this topic. Asphalt 6 Adrenaline was first released for iOS devices in December 2010. It got an Android release sometime later, in June 2011. Gameloft decided to add 3 exclusive tracks for the Android version as a way to make up for the late release: Hong Kong, Rio, and Detroit. These tracks could be playable in the first version of the game, only to be removed in later updates for unknown reasons. The problem with this is, the version of the game that had these tracks is lost, and we don't know how the tracks even look. The only remaining thing that proves these 3 lost locations were a thing is this loading screen that shows the Hong Kong map. Some people theorize that the Detroit, Hong Kong, and Rio maps from Asphalt Injection might be the ones from Asphalt 6, and honestly, that is not too crazy of a theory. Will we ever find the lost version of Asphalt 6, and with it, these fabled lost tracks? Only time will tell.
The unreleased tracks. According to Gameloft developers, making a track for an Asphalt game is not easy, and that's completely true. With each track comes a lot of planning, making concepts, modeling, and more. And of course, that takes a lot of time, effort, and development resources. So you can only imagine how many tracks never went beyond the concept phase. So let me show you some. I investigated a lot, and the earliest instance of a cut track in an Asphalt game, from what I gathered, is in Asphalt 8. These pictures show an unfinished map in the Panama Canals. Castles, rocky formations, a naval ship, an airship, bridges going over water, attack helicopters, jets, and a waterfall were going to be part of this track apparently. Will it be released one day? Who really knows? There are also a couple of pictures from a scrapped track in Berlin. Some concept art from an artist named Tony Lopez Este shows that an Antarctica track might have even been considered to be another playable track in Asphalt 8. The art shows some crazy stuff like submarines, industrial complexes, ice tunnels, planes, and more. There's also some more art proving that Moscow could have made a return from Asphalt 7 and 6. However, as cool as these concepts look, Moscow ended up being ruled out in favor of the Munich subway. It's a shame, cause I really liked that track. Asphalt Extreme also had a ton of tracks that were never released. Gameloft made a post back in 2017 asking players which location they wanted to race first, Hawaii or Scotland. Sadly, none of these tracks ended up being released. Gameloft had also planned to add tracks in Agoshima, Aspen, and London. Aspen was hinted at in the game's garage as some sort of wallpaper in the background. There is also a ton of concept art for the London track, which takes place in a factory and a construction site. In these Asphalt 9 concept art pieces, we see several shots of the cities of Monaco and Rio de Janeiro. They look amazing and full of detail, but there's more. Costa Rica could have been yet another track in the game, as well as the luxurious and shiny city of Dubai and Hong Kong.
Roof. Roof Automobile is a German car manufacturer that engineered original vehicles using unmarked Porsche chassis. This brand has been appearing since Asphalt 3 Street Rules, and served as a substitute to Porsche for many of the Asphalt games, as EA and Porsche had an exclusive licensing deal back in the year 2000, where their cars could only appear in racing games made by EA. After 17 years, the license came to an end, which meant that Porsches would be able to appear in more racing games. This also meant that every car under the Roof brand could not be obtainable anymore in Asphalt 8, due to license obligations from Porsche, who did not want their tuned vehicles appearing together in one game. This also affected other car brands like 9FF and Rinspeed.
The cut cars. Talking about cut cars, Asphalt had many cars that ended up being scrapped in the pre-production stage in many of their games, so let's take a look at some of them. The earliest and one of the most prominent cases of a cut car in Asphalt is the Lamborghini Reventon in Asphalt 8. It actually could have been seen in the Dev Diary video, but it was cut from the game before the game was released. 10 years later, we actually got it in the Lamborghini Reventon Roadster. Asphalt Overdrive had two cut cars that were found in the game files, the Peugeot 2008 DKR and the Lamborghini Miura. The most interesting cases come from Asphalt Extreme. In these early pictures from the game, we see the Toyota Tundra drifting. There is also a highly detailed model from the game. The pickup was even in the pre-registration trailer, but it was removed due to some licensing restraints from Toyota. We can also see a Hyundai i30N in this concept art, a Chevrolet Silverado as a trophy truck, a 1970 Chevy Chevelle SS454 as a monster truck, a Volkswagen Beetle, Ford Shelby GT500, a Ford F-150 truck, a Maserati Levante, and a Mazda Miata MX-5. Lastly, Asphalt Street Storm was actually supposed to have a McLaren 720S, but it ended up on the cutting room floor sadly.
Asphalt Origins. This was the early title of Asphalt 6 Adrenaline when it was in the beta stages. During a certain point in development, the name changed to Asphalt Adrenaline, and later this 6 was added. Here's some art with the early logo, and an icon found in the files of the Mac version of the game.
The Lost Asphalt game. There is an Asphalt game that you just can't play anymore. It doesn't matter if you got it before it was pulled out of the store, you just won't be able to play it. This is Asphalt Street Storm. The game was actually the first one in the franchise to have a focus on drag racing. It had a very good selection of cars that were pretty customizable and 3 locations where the career would take place. Unfortunately, the fate of the game was sealed from the very beginning by being a game that required an online connection to play. Sometime after being removed from all stores, the servers of the game got shut down, making the game completely inaccessible, maybe forever.
Asphalt 2's track layouts. Some of the track layouts from Asphalt Urban GT2 are based on real-life circuits around the world. The Bogota airport layout looks exactly the same as the Autódromo Oscar y Juan Galvez circuit in Argentina. The Las Vegas track is really similar to the Grand Prix layout from the Nürburgring. Hong Kong shares the same layout as the Shanghai International Circuit, and the Tokyo track looks exactly the same as the Circuit de Monaco.
Asphalt 9 Chinese version. There is actually another version of Asphalt 9 that just exists for the Chinese market. What makes it interesting is the amount of changes it has that makes it drastically different from the original version, just like a new car class, different economy, nitrous effects, even wings on the cars. There are also some interchangeable garage skins among some other things.
Speed Devils. We are deep in the waters below. For this topic, we will have to go back several years, even before the first Asphalt game was conceived. Even before High Gears, the first racing game Gameloft was making before being cancelled. Let me introduce you to the first racing game developed by Gameloft, which served as a stepping stone towards what would become the first Asphalt game, Speed Devils. This was a Java port of the same game that was developed by Ubisoft. This game had vehicular combat elements like weapons, takedowns, and police chases. So, technically, this rudimentary and bizarre Java game was what set things off for what would become the franchise we know and love. This was Asphalt before Asphalt was even born. Its true humble beginning as a franchise. Congratulations, you reached the end of the iceberg. Thank you so much for watching the video until the end. I want to thank these communities and these people that helped with a lot of valuable information, as well as Marf. Go check his channel out. I also want to thank the official Asphalt channel for the shoutout they gave me some time ago. I really appreciate it. And last but not least, I want to thank the developers and artists at Gameloft for making a game that basically marked my childhood and made me fall in love with cars and racing games in general. So yeah, thanks for watching, consider subscribing, sharing this video, and leaving your thoughts in the comments. Stay safe, and see you next time.